Happy Thursday night to you folks. Welcome to a special edition of the TPO Doc Talk podcast. We've got some cool news to share on the Romans Warrior Foundation and True Patriot Outfitters home front. We wanted to make sure and do just a complete standalone episode completely of this and get this out before the event actually happens. It's coming out of Missouri here with one of our rock stars that we have in the team, Mr. Jimmy Burgess himself out of Joplin, Missouri. So we're going to bring him on to the show here. Let's welcome him in. Mr. Jimmy, how are you, sir?
What's up, dude?
Too much, man.
Happy to be here. I figured I'd just come on and do some hand puppets or something. Or some shadow puppets.
Yeah, shadow. Yeah, for sure.
Shadow puppets. Hand puppets for other stuff.
That's right. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you cutting into some family time here to come in and spread the news on this, dude, because it's, you and I have been talking about this for quite a while, and we're trying to work everything together. And so I figure now's the time. Let's make it official. Let's go ahead and throw it out there and let people know what's happening for the future here.
Awesome.
Yeah. So without further ado, the official announcement is True Patriot Outfitters Romans Warrior Foundation Field Ops Division. We now officially have a Missouri branch. We have 4 total team member anglers in that area. One guy's in Kansas City, but we count him in Missouri anyway. And with that being said, and Jimmy and I talk, and Jimmy's got the gumption, the energy, the desire. We are going to have an official branch there, and Mr. Jimmy Burgess, you are going to be our state captain for that, running that outfit out there. And in our first event, official, is going off this weekend. You're taking care of. We got a field ops event going there, getting out in another new canoe with you and taking some guys out. So talk to us about that event, who's involved, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it should be pretty awesome. We're working with American Legion Post 15. Their adjutant is going to be coming out on the water with me. We might have another guy that's going to come out as well. We're kind of working out a few things with getting people in the right places, make sure things are going to go off right. But worst case scenario is I'm going to get to take a veteran out of the water and put him on some fish. We're going to Lamar City Lake, and for those that don't know, you should know that's an amazing little hidden gem in the great state of Missouri, and it's a lot of fun to fish.
Don't give away your honey hole, dog.
Dude, for me, I'm not shy about wanting people to enjoy catching good fish and being on the water. And, I'm one of those guys that I'm completely open to share. Obviously I've got my little tricks and tips that I use when I'm on the water to catch the good ones on Lamar. But yeah, it's not my lake. I love fishing it. So I love sharing it.
Well, and the bottom line is we're going to take a guy out who's probably, has he ever been kayak fishing before?
No.
Perfect.
Never been kayak fishing. So yeah, it should be interesting. I got to talking to him last weekend about everything that TPO is doing, the fact that we're looking at bringing it into Missouri on a much more regular basis. And with him being a big part of the American Legion as he is, I know he covers over, I want to say 15 or 16 different American Legions in the position that he's in. So we can start to spread the word more and start to engage with some of these other veteran organizations that might have guys that want to go out in the water, get out there and kayak fish with us and get back to nature.
And that's the way to do it, right? Let's start at the top here. Let's if the best thing we can do is show these guys so they can then become, stewards for us. They started spreading the word with that. It comes when somebody tells you about something, it just carries a ton more weight. It's the grassroots, man. This is how we seed the garden. This is how we grow it, how we get stuff going. Dude. Absolutely. And you and I are both with Team New Canoe. We chose New Canoe for a reason, not just personal reasons, but one of the biggest factors for me is when someone's brand new like this is the perfect craft to put them in. Get Absolutely. Them out in a new canoe that is known for its stability, known for its fishability, wide open deck space. It allows them to focus just on relaxing and having a good time. this is a huge deal, that we're able to utilize this. Blake and the whole team at New Canoe, man, they make this stuff. They help us, get what we need to get stuff in position, and that's a huge deal.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. We've had other opportunities to take other veterans out on the water, and the fact that I've been able to put disabled veterans on new canoe kayaks that have been paralyzed from the chest down, things like that, and still be completely stable on there. There's no other craft I'd rather put a new kayaker on the water on, knowing that I'm out there and responsible for them. It makes me feel that much safer too, and it makes them feel safer. Obviously, we still give them the briefs and all that stuff about where they need to stay and not to lean too far and to wear their PDF while they're out there the whole time, and establish those good ground things that help keep us safe when we're on the water early and often.
100%, man. And at the heart of this, like I say, I always bring these guys up because without them, none of this would have been possible for us. I wouldn't have made any of these connections. The podcast wouldn't exist. That's the Romans Warrior Foundation, man, and all the divisions therein. We are the field ops division. That's what Jimmy and I, and the TPO basically is the group that provides the logistics for the field ops division of Romans Warrior Foundation. So we've
Absolutely.
got the GWAT wall that's been in Joplin there. We're talking already now about next year about trying to find ways to do even more there. So this
Yeah,
is
we've already figured it
exciting.
out.
Yeah, man, this is exciting to get Romans in there, get TPO in there, and above all, bro, having you at the helm of this thing is something that I don't even think twice about, right? I mean, it's for me personally, the TPO is like a child, and I 100% know that Uncle Jimmy's got her in good hands, man, and you've got it taken care of down there, man. So this is
Yeah,
this
I
is awesome
appreciate that.
stuff.
I appreciate that, and obviously great supporting cast around me. My wife, Misty, she fishes a lot and she's in her new canoe, all that stuff. Get the support from local Buds Baits. That's a new canoe dealer who I'm pro staff for, and they take care of us when we need things. And then we're in an awesome area for kayak fishing. I mean, the tournaments and the leagues that are around here between Moyak and Kamo and the other ones, it's awesome to know so many other kayakers. So if they might have somebody that has a veteran friend or something like, hey, let's help facilitate, get those guys out of the water and they can come out too and be a part of it. I know between like Stony and myself and a couple of the other guys, we're available to do stuff like that. One, because obviously we love our veterans. And two, we love fishing. Three, we love being on our kayaks. And kayaks is the best way to fish. I mean, Randy Blaukett would disagree with us. It's the worst thing ever, but and boring and all that other stuff he says. But that's okay.
It's
Everybody,
ruining fishing.
yeah, everybody can have their opinions and good, bad, indifferent. But for me, I love and seeing that with you as well, and having veterans out on the water to be able to just sit back and chat with them and watch them as they continue to bring their guard down a little bit and they continue to talk more and they continue to relax and have a good time and joke around and catch fish and trying you could see them almost figuring out in their head, how can I do this more often? What do I
Yeah.
have to do to get a kayak and to get into leagues or to get into fishing more, or will this work for crappies and catfish and everything else, and explaining to them how many different things you can do off the kayak and feel comfortable doing it and stay dry. It's just awesome.
The exploration piece. So our one of our main guys here in Colorado, Mr. Matt Collins himself, tuning in via YouTube. Great stuff, you guys. Thanks, MC Hammer, for joining in with us here. So, dude, I had an opportunity Tuesday to go to this little fall summit here. I paid real close attention to the tutelage you and Ted gave me when I was out there. And so when I got home here, I immediately started looking, right? And I found this summit, serving those that served. And this is a summit. What was down there at Red Rocks Community Colleges was a small group of nonprofit organizations, all working in the veteran community space in some fashion or form. We were one of two outdoor organizations being represented there. And one of the things that we smashed home with that I'll tell you really resonated amongst the other nonprofits and amongst the staff members was when I mentioned the fact that we 100% believe wholeheartedly in the whole family serves, and we want to make sure that we are serving families as well. There's very few things about about our going out with our programs that can really match when a father and son, or a father and daughter, or a mother and son. I've had the opportunity to take a mother and son out, and a father and son. We're working on taking a father and his father out. Trying to put that trip together. Dude, those are some special moments when you can, give them that memory like that, and we're doing this for them. And like you said, our hope is they see that you don't need to have a couple thousand, bajillion dollars to get into this, man. There's options. Now, New Canoe is something I personally love recommending, because if you want a quality piece of gear and you don't want to spend 5 grand, New Canoe's the way, in my opinion, that you go, because you can deck that thing
I
out
agree.
how you almost, any one of our models, you're not going to be upset. It's, we've got the models that you need there, and you don't have to break the bank. But you can go
Yep.
even cheaper. Dude, go to the used marketplace out there and find you a used kayak initially if you need to, and get into it. Just above all, get into it. Kayak
Yep.
fishing has so many extra bonuses as far as getting out there, that it's fun to talk about those.
And we're a great gateway to that. I think that's one of the reasons why I believe in TPO so much, and obviously the Romans Warrior Foundation. And on that, I feel like every time I've been on your podcast, Brian's been here too. So he's my little safety blanket that's not here right now. So if you see me
I
shaking,
I got this close to bringing him in, man. I was talking with him today on the phone, and I was like,
that's
no,
funny.
no, no, because
That's funny. No,
we'll
that's
be on
cool.
here for an hour and a half if he's in here.
That is true. Then he'll have to leave for a call and come back because it was a false alarm and everything
Right,
else. We know how
right,
it goes. He actually just probably tells his wife to page him real quick while
right,
he's sitting there and make him look
right.
all cool. So I get it. I get it. It's awesome. But yeah, I think we can be very excited for what we're looking at putting together for here in Missouri. I think
Yeah,
it's awesome. What obviously, and that's why I wanted to come on board. And um, obviously with the other nonprofit that I'm associated with, I'm the director of Heartland Canines for Veterans. So I love doing that stuff too, and finding different ways to kind of put all of these different organizations together, something that we've always talked about being able to do. There's the great opportunities for it. And I didn't get to tell you yet, but Ted Donaldson, who's getting inducted into the Missouri Veterans Hall of Fame at the end of this month,
okay.
he has offered to come back to Heartland Canines for Veterans to be my development director again. So I've got Ted back on board with me.
Hell
We've
yeah.
been hitting the pavement. So we've got a ton of stuff, amazing things going on. And obviously a couple big ones that we're working at for next year, some golf tournaments and a couple of fishing tournaments. So if there's any, moyackers or guys in this area, that's obviously something we'd love for you guys to participate in and be a part of everything that it is that we have going on.
I think with the kayak community, it's a matter of, is there, a good cause and a good lake to go fish? They're in. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
been
that's usually a pretty
amazing.
simple one.
Yeah, pretty easy combination.
Yeah,
I get asked a lot of times, why, kayak fishing, why that doesn't that eliminate a few people, this and that. And I wanted to just kind of just give a quick short answer to this. If you've got more questions, in that regard, please hit me up. I'll be glad to give you the long-winded version. But the short answer is this: yes, it does potentially remove a couple individuals, or a couple demographics from going out. But here is the main thing: our primary demographic that we are working with, not the only one, but our primary one, is the GWAT era vet. That is the majority of that era vet from the global war on terror wants to get out. They want to continue to be active. They want to stay active. And that's why we promote and show what, when you couple that desire of that demographic with the benefits of what getting outdoors does, for you, that it was a no-brainer. So that's the main piece there. And number two, one of the reasons we choose kayak fishing is because it forces you to slow down. You have to get hyper focused on multiple things here, and what that allows you to do is shut off the outside shit for a while. You get
yep,
focused on your craft. You have to watch your vessel. You have to maintain navigation and maintain, what you're doing with that. pay attention to your surroundings, and not in a high tension environment. It's a low tension environment, but you do need to do that. And then, of course, you're hyper focused on catching that little green or brown bastard in the water that you're trying to get. So you want to hunt, the hunt is involved in this, a very primal side of this. And last but not least, of the reasons behind this that come in is because of the community piece. Kayak fishing creates an amazing community, and that is something that that I'm gonna speak out of turn a little bit here, but you can back me up on this, Jimmy. One of the things that transition from service to civilian, one of the things that becomes missing is that community, that tribal sense, that belonging. Civilian life, it's not so easy to find that out here for a lot of guys and gals. This is a community that's extremely welcoming, that brings people in, and it gives you immediate, you don't even need to know the person. If you see another kayak angler, you can start chatting with them immediately right out the gates, man. And it's easy to do. And from that point on, you got that common ground. You don't always get that in other areas of fishing out there. So yeah, it's a cool thing. Those three pieces are the short answer as to why these programs work, why they have such a large impact out there.
And one of the things that I was explaining to like this gentleman with American Legion Post 15 is, the guys coming back, the Global War on Terror guys, they've been less receptive to joining American Legions and joining VFWs. And I know most of them are focused on keeping their numbers up and keeping things going. So this is also another avenue for those places that we're looking to go to work with these American Legions and these VFWs to say, hey, if we know veterans that are in that area and we're saying it's the American Legion that's looking to put this on, that's looking to get you into the water, all of a sudden those veterans are more receptive to wanting to
Yep.
join that American Legion, wanting to join that VFW, and actively working back into the whole community function because truth be told, a lot of the Vietnam veterans, things have kind of slacked off since then with their ability to retain because, us younger guys want to be doing outside stuff, want to be doing more activity based things, with each other and doing stuff instead of going down and sitting down at the bar or doing whatever. For me, I'd much rather on a Friday night be getting my stuff ready for a tournament early Saturday morning than I would ever like to go out and, tear one off and be not feeling good in the morning or,
Yep.
have something happen. I mean, you do this and all of a sudden you're back to, wanting to learn it and wanting to learn fish patterns and wanting to learn different places on the water. And that's one thing that everyone always talks about, or it isn't talked about maybe nearly enough of why kayak fishing is so intense, for lack of better words, is you can't travel as far a distance as you can when you have a boat. So you really have to plan well. You have to know where you want to put in at. You want to know that surrounding area there because you're only traveling maybe 2-3 miles at the most instead of being on a boat where you're going 30-40 miles down the lake.
Yep.
In the kayak, you've actually got to plan that stuff. So there's a lot of planning that's involved. It's more than just getting in the water, throwing in the line in the water and trying to catch a fish. It's making sure you got the right amount of equipment on the kayaks, the right stuff. What season of the year am I in? What am I going to be throwing? Do I need this rod or that rod? And then again, showing up at the boat ramp that next morning and 4 or 5 other kayakers out all wishing each other good luck as we're all loading up our stuff and getting it all ready. Like there's no greater feeling than that. I enjoy that so much.
And one of the other things that I'll tell you that I noticed coming from the boat world over to kayaking was when you talk about that, you got to really do your homework about the area that you're launching in, man. That is so true because the other skill you got to get good with is being able to go and have a large amount of tools in your tool belt because, dude, you got to pick the meat, every bit of meat off that chicken bone when you get in an area. You need to
Oh
learn
yeah.
how to, fish all three levels of the water column, learn how to fish structure, fishing, lay downs, fishing, whatever. Like you said, you can't motor up and go run a lake pattern of primary points. You need to know how to hit that point and then look for that channel in there, look for that channel swing, look for, a creek opening, whatever it is. You need to really be able to hone that skill. And so if it's something that you enjoy, and that's what we hope to do, is introduce you to this and see if it is something that you get, that same type of feeling for, then man, yeah, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, and there's times where I talk to people and they're like, "Yeah, fishing's not really for me." I'm like, "Communist?" Like for like,
Did you
there's just
bump your
there's
head?
there's
What's
there's
wrong with
there's
you?
there's something about it, and I've got a good friend, Brody Pursley. Like he'd always kind of talk a little smack on fishing and stuff like that, but then he hooked up with a guy in the axe throwing community that was going up to Canada to go do some walleye fishing and stuff, and asked Brody to go along, and Brody did. And then Brody comes back, he's like, "Hey, bro, we're gonna have to go fishing, get out in the water." I'm like, I said, "Dude, that's what you need." And guys like that are perfect in that kayak community because a lot of guys are just especially a lot of veterans are just so plan oriented and wanting stuff to be perfect and set up the right way that you get out on there and kayak and you get that minute where you don't have to listen to somebody else in the back of the boat. You don't have to listen to anything except what's going on in your mind, what you think the fish are doing, and then get out there and do your best to catch fish. And that's something I'm still learning as I fish. I think we all continue to learn, but I still feel like more closer to the novice side on planning of where I want to go in the water and how I want to do it. And the only way you get better with that is going on the water more. And kayakers are great at sharing information with each other with what they've done, how they do it, and then you take that information and you pass it on to the next guy and on to the next guy. And that's one thing that I've just felt is really good with Moyak is some of the guys, the top gunners, those guys that are out there that are just ripping big fish, and these guys are right there to share some of their secrets. There's obviously a lot of stuff they're like, I'm going to keep this one back till after I win the tournament,
Sure,
which is
sure.
cool, which is fine, but it just adds such a level of excitement. And then the non-tournament stuff is great too. I'm out all the time on the water. Misty will go out on the water, and there's just something about it that I cannot that just can't be replaced. There's a lot of fun things out there. There's a lot of great things to do, but there's just something about being in nature and being on the water and
Yeah, man.
seeing different sunsets and feeling that little tap on your line, or tossing that jig in and just feeling that thump right away and just knowing it's there. Like it's primal, like you were
Yep.
mentioning earlier. It's just that primal instinct of hunter gatherers of being out there trying to catch the biggest fish to bring home to your family. That's all you're doing is just replicating that and doing it over and over and over again to where you feel efficient at doing it, and all of a sudden you are that hunter gatherer. You are the one that is the apex predator out there trying to catch other apex predators, whether it's bass or walleye or whatever the case is, and it's awesome.
Yeah. And one of the things that I'm not going to share his name with this because I don't want to speak out of turn here, but one other aspect that fishing and what tournament fishing can actually help with is in the areas of addiction. We have someone who's very close to us with the TPO that is a recovered alcoholic, and he says his testimony
He,
alone, he will tell you that kayak fishing, in every sense of the word, saved his life because he got so hooked on bass fishing out of a kayak that he wanted to go further with it and wanted to get involved in tournaments. And like he said, I can't go out Friday and tie one on and then expect to wake up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning and go perform at a high level. He goes, so
yep,
it's a replacement piece, but it's a positive replacement is what he's done now, is that he spends his time and energy focused here on this and not elsewhere. So, it's there isn't enough medical study that's been done yet, but it's in the process. One of the companies that really leads the way for the rest of us out there is Heroes on the Water. They have actually commissioned and actually have doctors inside their organization that have done research to a small degree at this point. They do have at least enough data to be able to report back on benefits with dealing with anxiety, PTS, TBI, depression, things of this nature, and they continue to do more and more. And so that's a huge help. that we have out there. But yeah, man, it's the whole piece of that getting down. You're in their neck of the woods, man. You are at their level when you're in a kayak out there. It changes some of the dynamic. I will say that it changes, like when you get down into the neck of the woods that's got gators in the water. You want to talk about being hyper focused on your surroundings, every little crack and sound of something in the water, boy, that stays on your head. I've been down in Louisiana area, and yeah, that you stay really up on that stuff in a hurry.
I've got a fun little story of why I've got this huge fear of snakes. That I was doing some training at some point in my military career where I was doing a water crossing, and I froze in the water because I saw this stick moving towards me until I realized it was a water moccasin that actually brushed my face as it went by. And if you want to talk about paralyzing fear of saying, "Oh my gosh, my face, I'm gonna look like that dude from that Share movie." Like, that's what I thought. Like, if this thing bites me in the face, I am just gonna be all lopsided, you know, talking like this. Like, I really thought that was coming. I thought my face was gonna be all swole and have my bubble gum lips, and I thought it was coming. And but I could joke about it now, but that paralyzing fear, so when I'm on the water, I'm always watching. I see a snake, and I'm getting out of there. I got
Paddling
my
back.
pistol ready. Like people are like, "What is he shooting at?" Just do. Like that's something I don't play with. I've it's lessened over the years. Because I recognize the difference between just a water snake and a water moccasin, and generally being able to get out of the way, and they don't want to mess with you if you don't want to mess with them. I know the same thing pertains to different alligators and stuff like that. Like, just
Yeah.
keeping your distance, and you learn to appreciate different species and seeing things like that. But yeah, I mean, you tend to be more vigilant, and you're really kind of on your guard, watching your left and right. And that goes the same for watching out for that other animal that's on the water. It's glitter boys, the dudes in
Yeah.
the boats hauling butt at 70 miles an hour into a cove, and you're just like, well,
Yeah.
thanks, dude. And most of those guys, same thing. I was having a conversation with a couple of boat guys the other days, and they're like, "Oh, the kayak guys, they've got a smaller area to run, so they feel like they own the water or the cove that they're in." I said, generally, that's not the case. If you just have a conversation with them, "Hey, I'm coming by you. I'm coming over here." Like if we're all just having that line of communication with each other, we're a lot
Yep.
less likely to be upset or kind of guess what the other one is thinking. We're all out there to catch fish and enjoy nature. There's obviously some turds out there that you want to hit with a 1 ounce weight, but we all know as grown men, we really can't. There's definitely ways to kind of work around each other and be out there. And I think that's one thing with the kayak is it's you versus everything else out there, and that part is a lot of fun. I obviously mostly it's you versus the fish, but it's you versus the elements. You got to watch the weather. That's another big thing. Kayaks, watching the weather, know what's coming in, wind directions, all that stuff, water temperature.
Yep.
All those things just play such a huge part when you're kayak fishing. And for those guys that are looking for something to kind of put something into that maybe fish with paw back in the day, from the bank or something, getting in the kayak, like I said, it just kind of brings up those fun feelings of what it's like to set the hook on a big fish or even on a small fish, just to get out there and catch them, and you know appreciate the silence that isn't a big motor, or
Yep.
whatever job you have. It's nice to be able to get away. Most of us aren't that far from lakes or rivers or whatever your body of water of choice is, whatever's close. But to be able to get out there, go down and put in, and just be able to kind of escape from everything. Obviously, I completely see the healing side of that on the veteran side, and
Yep.
and the struggles that a lot of us face, knowing that, and it's just, I say the same thing with service dogs. It's not the end all be all fix to everything, but it's just, you just add another tool to that tool bag of, knowing that you have a place where you can go, where you're not going to have the loud noises of life, like right now in the whole dealing with election stuff and all that. And there's people on both sides, and everything's going back and forth. And you see all this stuff on social media, and people just randomly getting pissed at each other and saying what they say. And then it's like, when you kind of go bare bones on it. You recognize that, hey, we're all pretty much similar, especially like in the fishing community. There's a lot of guys in the fishing community where I scratch my head, like, how can you be this so far this way or so far that way when there's obviously middle ground we have in conversation. It's just trying to find a
Sure.
better way to do it. And, this us going out of the water and taking veterans out, that's an opportunity for us to just talk about fishing and talk about whatever they want to talk about and just kick back and relax and enjoy the water and take it all in. And then all of a sudden, those other things don't seem as bad and they don't seem as
Important. Not
control
as important.
important or as controlling in your life or um, and then when you come off the water, there's that obvious sadness of coming off the water, but then there's that excitement of when's the next time I get out,
Yep.
and you start thinking of more times and more places you want to go and things you want to try. And then all of a sudden you're watching YouTube videos on fishing and, using this in the fall. And then all of a sudden you're climbing into winter and you're like, oh, where am I? So you're like trying to figure that out. And it's a great rabbit hole to go down because the community's great. Um, who you're
You,
surrounded by is great and nature's amazing.
one of the things that I always tell guys is when things out there don't make sense and they're getting chaotic, get out to the water. Okay, get out here because it always makes sense here. It always calms things down when you get on the water. And even when you're dealing with, outside stuff on the water, it's still more calming and it makes more sense. Things come together there. I'll tell you when you said, when you were talking about, why the whys we do this and seeing it firsthand, to quote Heartland's Canine for Veterans, the bottom line is what this does. We're not out here curing things, but what we are doing is we're improving the quality of life, and we are absolutely creating a pathway to healing. And that is the whole piece. That's what the whole purpose of this is, and you get every bit out of this of what you put into it. It's the beauty of this sport. There's no shortcuts, about the sport side of it. And last but not least, when we talk about fishing, some people immediately who have not been around this immediately go to, like you said, sitting on the bank with a natty light hanging off, their chair and drowned in a worm. Make no mistake, it couldn't be anything further from that. That is a passive style of fishing, which is throwing some out and waiting. What we do when we go out is we get to show folks the active side of fishing using all artificial baits. You are on a hunt. You're trying to crack the code of where these fish are at using the information that you have at your disposal, and you are actively trying to trick them into biting and eating that artificial piece of plastic that you're throwing around out there. It is a completely different environment. It's a different mentality in the head, and it keeps you involved. It's always ever changing, rarely ever the same day twice when you go out. It's a beautiful piece. It's why
It's
we
never the
spend
same day.
thousands and thousands of dollars when you get ridiculously hooked like us.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And a great example of that is again with Misty. She loves to throw her Texas rig out there, and she's very good at it and effective at catching fish. And I'm trying to like broaden her horizons. And right now is a perfect time to be up shallow, banging that square bill off of stuff and all that. And got her to finally do it. She's one of those like I don't like treble hooks, and they're gonna get me. And it's more likely going to happen that it's going to happen to me before her when we're on the water. It hasn't happened yet to any type of depth where I got to cut it out or take some yeah whatever thicker line to pull it out of my hand. But seeing her, like when I'm explaining to her, like with the square bill, I'm like, you don't just throw it out there and reel it back. Like pretend like you are that little bait fish or whatever that that these fish are going to want to chase. Like how can you move your pole and manipulate the way you're reeling to make it more lifelike, to get that reaction strike, to make it look cool in the water like an actual bait fish or like a crawdad. And then when she did that and started catching fish, it's like, oh, it works.
Lights
And
go
then
off.
that that
Yeah.
that light bulb goes on, and she's like, oh, okay, I'll do this more. And then it's that next thing, it's that same thing with, jerk baits and with jigs. And, you know, jigs are such a, it's power fishing, but you got to have that amount of finesse to know what it feels like when that fish is just picking it up, and start to see that line move, or you feel that thump, and you just know the difference. And make no mistake about it, I recognize sometimes I love to set the hook on a nice big log or whatever. But my thought always is, and I got told this a long time ago, when you're feeling something hitting it like that, you just remember fish don't have hands. And so they got to be doing it with their mouth. So you want to try and get it in there. And second,
Hook
this
sets
is
are
the best.
free.
Hook sets are free. That's the best one. Like you could swing and miss 100 times, but that one you get out there, you're like, oh, I knew it. I knew that's what it was. I got it. I got it. That's
until
great.
till you're an
That's
idiot
what
like
makes it so
me
fun.
and you hook set and then realize quickly as the line snaps you had 6 pound test line on a leader and you went literally, what are you
Yeah.
doing? What are you doing, moron? Don't set this thing like you got a jig on 30 pound braid.
I'm not sure if I told you this, but I fish much better alone. So I recognize one of my shortcomings when I'm on a boat, right? I feel that bite. I always say it, and I don't know why I do it. Oh, there it is. Like I have that extra delay instead of just setting the hook and then being like, oh, there it is, or whatever I'm doing. I always like have to tell the other person on the boat, like, oh, here it is. I don't know if it's just that split-second delay or whatever it is. Like, why can't I just say it and set the hook at the same time? Like, what am I doing? But it's those little things. But when I'm on the kayak, obviously it's just me, so I'm not like, oh, there it is, and it's getting into that like I'm saying it in my head, of course, like,
I was gonna say you can think it faster than you
oh,
can say it. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So, but again, that's all just, and there's some guys that are just, feel so much better on the boat or whatever else. But kayaking is just such a different, it's different than so many other things because there's so much that has to go into it,
yep.
but the reward's high, and it's not even just catching the fish that's the reward. It's having a successful trip onto the water and getting it launched, and even just getting to the boat ramp knowing that you've checked it over and everything's tied down correctly, knowing you've pre-planned to have the stuff in your kayak that you're going to need when you're on the water, making sure batteries are working, making sure lights are working. It goes back to that whole, it's so much more than just fishing. It's
Yeah,
everything that's inclusive to have a successful fishing outing that makes it enjoyable. And
100%. It's when that
Misty
plan
obviously
comes
gets to,
together.
yeah, Misty obviously gets to enjoy she just shows up and I've got the kayaks in the water and she's all happy and she's like, thanks, Bab, which is awesome. I love that role. But when she forgets something, I'm like, babe, why didn't you grab it? She's like, oh, I thought you were going to grab it. It's like, see, like they gotta have those checks and balances. But she's gotten so much better over the last 2 years or so, where she's really
Right.
kind of stepped up her game, and now she's comfortable on the kayak. She's comfortable with the trolling motor and knowing what it's going to feel like, and how she wants to take angles for her fishing, like all these different things that you just slowly pick up over time. And
Yeah.
being able to explain that to veterans on the water who don't get that opportunity is just a game changer because no, I think Gene, you and I could both attest we're not the greatest tournament fishers, at least as far as results are, but there's so much more to say for us, you know, dedicating our time to help teach others the craft
I was going to
and
say
to get them out
tournament
there.
fishing is a complete oddity all on its own. It's a skill set all completely out there by itself. It does not translate to the quality of angler that one person is. It means they're a great tournament angler if they're successful there for sure.
Yeah, it's like, and I've already long recognized I'm no Chad Davidson or Robert Spurgeon or whatever,
I'm right there
but
with you.
I love doing it. There's something about about the tournaments of getting out there and trying to get, and that's what why kayak tournaments I feel are so much better than boat tournaments because you're seeing live results. Fish are going back in the water immediately. You're getting that immediate feedback of where you are in the tournament up until about that last hour, what you're looking for, how much more you need, and noticing if guys are on fish or if they're catching stuff or if everybody's having a bad day or if I'm the only one with zero fish. And that's
Right.
happened before where I'm like, no, just like pulling my hair out because you do all this planning, and that's something that's also another great thing about the kayak fishing is you could do all the planning in the world. You set all this stuff up, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a 90 inches in fish or 100 inches in fish or even 80 inches in fish, but you still got to spend that time doing what you love and setting it up and recognizing there's that next tournament and thinking, oh, maybe this will be the one. And you never know. I mean, all it takes, I've got the Big Bass Bash coming up, the Big Bass 250 with Eco, and that was a great tournament last year. It's gonna be fun again, and then it's catching fish every hour, and you're trying to
Yep.
build it up, and so it's just, I don't know, there's just something about it. I just can't help it. I love it. I love talking to people about it. And
Well,
there's just something even more special about getting the veterans out to do it.
and that's the thing, when we get a chance to share our passion, knowing that it's doing what it's doing, there's no greater call out there, man. I want to make sure also and shout out to the rest of the Missouri team. We have Jimmy and Misty down there in Joplin. Up in the Kansas City area up there is Mr. Stoney Floyd with the TPO, and then the other team member we have, and for the life of me, can't place where this young man is located from. He's a United States veteran himself, Mr. John Denton. He is part of our team out there. And I forget what section of Missouri John's from. So I'm an idiot when it comes to that. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
Stoney's
man,
another one, man. Stoney's another hammer. That dude can catch some
yeah.
fish and he's good at it. And, I feel like he's always just being nice to me when I'm like, hey, dude, let's catch some fish. And he's like, okay, I've got my 90 inches. What do you got? And I'm like, I've got 14 inches. And it's just the way it goes sometimes, It's, I tend to stay pretty local. He had an opportunity to come and fish with me at Lamar, and we caught some fish, and that made me feel good that he made the trip to come down and fish with me on the lake that I like to fish. And, I'd like to think he had a good time. It's, it can be a challenging lake, but we caught fish and it was awesome. So to guys like Stoney and the other guys that have been doing it a lot more years than even I have, it's awesome to see them excited about TPO and wanting to help out the veteran community and get them on the water.
Oh
And
yeah.
and it's a lot of fun that way. I think we're all here for each other. I really feel full confidence that if something was to for God forbid something happened to like me or something, one of those guys would be there to help with whatever needed help.
Yep.
And it's such a good community. We're very lucky to be in this area.
In our branch in Missouri, man, it's starting off strong. Like you said, not only is Stoney a stellar angler, but he is a one of a kind human being. I can attest to that myself. I love me some Stony Floyd. He's a hell of a human. And he's always looking for ways to improve others around him. He loves help people around him, and when he heard about this opportunity, he jumped on it to help us spread the mission, spread the word about what we're doing. And
Absolutely.
when we're in that neck of the woods, and he's got the schedule available, he's going to be down like a clown, man. He's ready to go and get
Absolutely.
things going. So
And
it's exciting.
one other person you can't forget is Jason Ginger, one of
Yes.
the veterans that we brought out. So he and I have had some really good conversations about doing some different things, like actually doing some camping trips where some 3 or 4 day camping stuff, getting out and showing some of these veterans like some cool secret squirrel spots. Because this dude's feral. He basically grew up in the woods. He's like I can't think of what that little guy's name was from. Um, what's the one that was raised by wolves or whatever? You know what
I
I'm talking
can't remember.
about? Like
Yeah.
like that's him. Like I feel like he would know every single tree where there's some moss and how to get sap out and then build like some kind of fort that you could live in for 3 years with like smoked salmon hanging down and stuff and a bone tied in his beard. Like that's just how he is. And I told him, I'm like, dude, I want you to take me out and then I can do some of my refreshers. There's some of those things, skill sets that he has that I'm
Yeah.
very interested in, that I feel a lot of us can benefit from in the day and age we live in. Where there's possibilities of a lot of things. It's always good to kind of get back to those things of what it takes to live in nature, what it takes to, to do that whole bonding with nature, to know
Yeah.
what's good, what's bad, how to survive, where to find water, things like that. And Jason is a absolute rock star for that. So I wanted to be sure and give him his shout out.
100%. Jason and I had a chance to chat a little bit more on the phone, and we're looking at how do we the question has come up, how do we create like a once in a lifetime trip where Jason would take us into some areas, and take a group of guys on a like a week long journey, or 5 day journey, whatever the case may be. So that's in the works, trying to come up with something. And yeah, you can't teach what Jason knows. Jason lives that life. Jason, he has a connection there, and that's the guy. Shit hits the fan. Jason's the guy I'm going to, right? I
Oh
mean, you
yeah,
can
I'll be there first. Sorry.
EMP goes off and the whole world shuts down. This guy's going to sit back and he's going to giggle at you because he's going to be just fine.
He's going to take your phone and carve it into a comb and then comb his hair and beard with said phone when that EMP hits. That's just the type of guy he is while he's catching fish
Right.
and whittling a duck or something out of some wood. Like he's doing it all at the exact same time. And God, I
A
love the guy
duck you
for
can
that.
smoke out of.
Yeah,
A duck
yeah.
pipe or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, I've been doing this since I was 6. I'm like, I believe you. I
Yes,
gotta love him though.
the one thing I will say also about Jason that I picked up on rapidly, he's got a heart the size of Texas.
He
And
does.
his desire to give back and give in, and I still haven't posted it yet. That gift he gave me, that antique lure that he found that
I
he
got one
gave me,
too.
bro, that is so free. It's in my pickup, sitting right there on my deal. Um, he says, "Yeah, we give him too much credit." I don't think so, man. I think we're pretty spot on with where you're at.
Jason, and I guarantee anybody that knows Jason was like, man, they just drew him up to a T because that's exactly how he is. Straight up hillbilly, teach you how to make moonshine and grow different types of plants. I won't say any specific types of plants, but I'm sure he could teach you all of it, all while setting a trot line and carrying a baby and like a thing right here that he found downriver and feeding a baby woodchuck or something, bringing it back to life. Like it's all him. That's just it's him, man. It's him. And I
And
love it.
and like we said, he's the guy you want there, helping you get through this stuff, showing you what plants you can eat, what plants you should not eat, type thing.
Yeah, and
And
aside from that, he's
that
just
could
got
be
a
super
great
cool.
And aside from that, he's got a great life story. The guy's
Yeah.
been there, done that. A lot of setbacks, a lot of difficulties, and to see him pursue through it, where he doesn't even necessarily recognize it as a setback. He just recognizes it that next day. It's just guys like that are, they're the diamonds in the rough that we need more of in this country to help us kind of get back to our roots and what's important. And he's a great asset. Not only that, he's a great friend, uh, but he's a great asset to bringing us back to what's important in life. And for that, I'm just eternally thankful.
100%, man. I know I'm better off for meeting him myself when we were down there, and yeah, I'm excited about trying to put something together and seeing what we can get done here in the coming future. All right, brother,
Absolutely,
man.
dude.
Well, I'm excited about this field ops trip. You guys are going to go out. You guys are going to have a good time. Getting on some fish. Get us a bunch of pictures from that bad boy going off there. We got other
I
cool
will.
stuff that we're working on for the Missouri branch there that hopefully you and I can get some ground on some of those avenues, and we'll see what comes out of that.
Absolutely. And my goal this weekend is to catch that 6 pounder that's probably still got my 110 plus one junior in his mouth. I saw it boil and jump on me, and then oh yeah, it's just a train wreck. But I know it's out there swimming around, still just like hanging in its mouth, like come and get it. So I got to figure out a way. I'm sure one of the yokels already caught it and hung it up on the wall.
Scored a 20.
What kind of bait is
Yeah.
this? This is out of the expensive section.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's how it is.
$13, $15 jerk bait. Or is that
Yeah,
is that the $25 ones?
it's one of the more expensive ones. It's somewhere in
Yeah.
between the two. So, but
Yeah.
but they're great baits. Again, available at Bud's Baits too. So
Awesome
I can't
stuff.
forget to give them their shout out. They've done a lot for me and for the fishing community around here. We don't have much for fishing stuff or whatever, and to know that their locals stayed good. A lot of people go in there to get their stuff. It's just awesome. They're an awesome asset to this community, and want to do whatever I can to help them thrive. as well.
100%, man. This is how we get things done, is working with great companies like Bud's Baits, like New Canoe, Heartland, and TPO, RWF. All of us working together to find ways to just improve what we can do out there, man. And that's a huge deal. Helping is
Yep,
healing, and
absolutely.
and we can do that even more effectively when we do it together. So, well, listen, brother, I've taken up enough of your time here. We've run through this again. Official announcement: TPO RWF Missouri branch. Jimmy Burgess going to be running that with the Missouri team that's out there. Awesome stuff. Well, obviously we'll be reporting and keeping people abreast of all the information that we've got going on. We're going into the slow season now, so it'll give us a chance. You'll be able to get an event or two off, and then we can do some planning, and try to get resources put in place so that next year we can hit the ground running.
And I got to get a new compressor so I can actually get back to making some baits and stuff too. Now that we're climbing into late fall and winter, eventually I'll get back to making a lot more baits. But yeah, I had that, and one of my clear coat stuff dried out, so I got to get
Oh
another order
no,
of that in too. Yeah, it's just been one thing after another, but it's all good. Right now I've been much more obviously focused getting on the water and fishing, and now with this
nice,
getting guys out on the water. So we'll get back to it. Squirrel
good stuff,
minnows.
man. Well, I'm looking forward to my next run down there. It's not that far away. Joplin is only 10.5 hours away, so I'm looking for my next
That's
forward to
nothing.
that next run.
Who
Nah,
needs sleep? And the
right?
general said, he's like, hey, I washed the sheets and I'm keeping the bed warm for him. So actually, he didn't say that. And shout out to him. He just had his 70th birthday this week too.
That's right.
So
Happy birthday, General Jim.
we went and did some golfing, and I had to show him what was up again as usual. But that's all right.
Well,
We have
look at
we
you
have fun with
go.
it. Yeah, kind of a big deal.
I'll bring the clubs next time.
That would be awesome, dude. We'd have a blast.
I completely suck, but I'll
Yeah,
make anybody look good.
well, I'll make you laugh then. One, we'll call it even. And I'm sure you'll
That's
make me
right.
laugh. So
Always, always.
good,
All
brother.
right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on here and everything you're doing with us, for people out there. Dude, just much love and much thanks,
Worth it for the
folks.
veterans.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Folks, make sure to smash that subscribe button if you're tuning in via YouTube there. Subscribe is the big deal for us. That is a super big help. We sincerely appreciate if you're watching live, if you're watching this as a recorded, either way, your continued support of the TPO is a major reason why we can keep going out here. So thank you so very much. Monday night, we've got the CKB Angler of the Year, Mr. Josh Gardner, joining us on the show. That episode will be co-hosted by Mr. Jimmy Straws with me again. And yeah, we're going to dig in and we're going to talk to this. This kid is definitely the new age of angler that's out there, man. His kayak looks like a spacecraft, completely, wired to the nines. But he's one of the best dudes you're going to meet out there. Josh Sterling, whatever you want to call him, Mr. Gardner is what we'll call him, and we call him Angler of the Year this year for CKB. That's a hell of an accomplishment. He did a hell of a job. So we're gonna have him Monday night at 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, right here on YouTube and Facebook. Tune in with us there. As always, folks, tight lines. Be safe.